afternoon. Are we on 4 o'clock straight up, a Tuesday edition of On Q? As always, I'm your host, Rich Quinones, coming at you live inside the friendly confines of our SR 1029 FM The Game studios on this, the 23rd of December, 2025. As always, get in on the conversation. Follow me on social media at Rich Q on QNX and IG, TikTok, Rich Q on a mic. Like, comment, and sub to the YouTube channel. We're powered by our wonderful friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get Ready with Tea, Play It Again Sports, 2 locations, Mount Laurel and Deptford, and of course our wonderful friends over at Fresh Roasted Coffee. You can save on us with the holidays right around the corner. Check out the show notes. Oh, by the way, since it is December 23rd, it is a Festivus for the rest of us, which means we can have an airing of the grievances today, which I've got some problems with a lot of you people. So we'll get into that. We got 2 hours to play with. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up. Hope everyone had a very good Sports Monday. And as I mentioned, you're enjoying your Tuesday as we're inching closer to Christmas, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. And here we go. New Year right around the corner. And we say goodbye to 2025. David Schultz going to join me at 5:05. We'll talk a little Sunbelt college football. He's the host of Locked on Sunbelt with a really nice run by James Madison. And we saw them obviously a little outclassed, but I think it kind of puts on notice these smaller conferences now with an opportunity to try to make some noise. So we'll talk a little college football with him, get his thoughts on the college football playoff series and the bowl games as well. Also, the NFL last night, the San Francisco 49ers, as I told you on the air, rolled the Indianapolis Colts. Brock Purdy played absolutely fantastic, lights out. I think it was a little dicey to start if you were a San Francisco 49ers fan, but you just knew they were going to beat Indianapolis. You know, all this trepidation from Niners faithful about this game. And I know that Rivers was lighting it up early. Listen, they were down in this one, the 49ers were. And then, of course, they put up 48 points. And Brock Purdy, fantastic, couple yards shy of 300, 5 touchdown passes. They are rolling right now, the 49ers, that control their own path to home field advantage. So, as I mentioned, the NFL, we are getting now into the spot in the NFL where we have pretty much have separated the men from the boys. And we're also learning with some of these teams right now, you got to be careful. Late in the season, there seems to be a sediment of some of these teams that are potentially tanking without tanking. And one of those teams is in our backyard, and that's the New York Jets. And there was a report that came out and also some comments by Connor Hughes that covers the NFL and covers the Jets, basically saying the New York football Jets, not my football Giants, but the Jets, gang green, they're pretty much tanking. And they're showing you they're tanking with their actions. Now, I told you guys this. This is just my thought, my sentiment. I don't believe there is tanking in the NFL. I think there's ways you can tank without ultimately coming out and actually tanking. It's different in the NBA, which we will also touch base on because it's a lot more pronounced and prevalent in the NBA. And the NBA thinks they're going to fix that tanking problem. I got news for you. That's not going to happen. NBA is not going to be able to fix that. It's just too easy to get away with. But the comments that Connor brought up regarding the Jets, it is kind of alarming because then it makes you wonder, okay, where are they at from an organizational standpoint? Because now there's this intense fan and media speculation that a pro franchise, a pro football team is deliberately losing games because obviously they want to try to get that top overall draft pick. They want to target Fernando Mendoza. And I think if you look at some of these teams in the NFL, I've mentioned this to you. I think there are teams that make business decisions. I think there are players that will make business decisions late in the season. You're going nowhere. It's a lost year. You didn't hit the incentives. You're not going to the playoffs. Nobody's at the home games in late November, early December. You're thinking about Getting away, you're thinking about vacation, you're thinking about the off season, taking the family, taking the missus, taking the mistress, taking the girlfriend, whatever. You want to get the hell out of there on a Sunday unscathed. So what do? You make business decisions. You don't tackle. You don't run the route hard. You don't block. You miss your assignment. Listen, no one can expect these players to go 125 miles a minute for 60 minutes. That's a really tough and hard ask. And players need a breather. Players take a play off. But if you look at what the Jets are doing right now, especially with the quarterback situation, they're pretty much telling you, well, yeah, I kind of want to see what this kid has, but we kind of already know what he has in a small sampling size, and he's certainly not going to be the quarterback of the future. I'm talking about Brady Cook, but yet we're going to start him when you have a healthy Tyrod Taylor. You have a healthy Tyrod Taylor, a veteran that's been around the block, a veteran that's played in the NFL for well over a decade, a veteran that's played in over 100 games. So he's right there, and yet we're going to start this kid. We're shutting down players. That's tanking without actually saying you're tanking. And it's all about the optics. And the optics give the appearance of that's a bad look. And you also have to wonder, where is this coming from? Is this a Woody Johnson? Is this an Aaron Glenn? Aaron Glenn played in the NFL for a decade. Aaron Glenn played at a high level. Aaron Glenn was a very good football player. I find it hard to believe that Aaron Glenn is kind of going along with this as a player himself, but their actions are showing you that they are tanking without actually tanking, and that's a major problem. That's a major problem. Teams that are bad, they understand we need to get draft capital. We need to get a little equity. We got to build equity with the fan base. We need to have good draft picks. We have to figure out a way to get player A, B, C. And more times than not, when you're a bad football team in the NFL and you are struggling, it's typically because you don't have a franchise quarterback. The Jets don't have a franchise quarterback. There are teams out there right now in the NFL. Raiders don't have a franchise quarterback. Saints don't have a franchise quarterback. Cleveland doesn't have a franchise quarterback. The Giants believe they have a franchise quarterback. The Jets don't have one. So our best shot, our best hope at rebuilding this, restarting, is going out and getting a high or securing a high draft pick. And in order to do that, we have to do what? We've got to lose football games. We have to lose football games. We have to put a bad product out on the field this late in the season. And players are prideful. Players have egos. There is a difference between tanking and the business decisions that I speak of. It's apples and oranges. Now, you can go back and you'll go look at some of these franchises, pardon me, that have had issues and they have played poorly and they've secured high draft picks. And I think everyone remembers the suck for luck, Andrew Luck and the Colts. And I pulled it up with this whole Andrew Luck situation when they drafted Andrew Luck. But here's, an interesting little side note to that. If you go back, and this is after, okay, Andrew Luck was being sought after back in 2007 when he was in high school. I mean, he was a star in Texas, right? And Peyton was doing his thing with the Indianapolis Colts. They were winning their 12, 13, 14 games a season. Great franchise. He had a wonderful run. And go back to 2010. 2010, Indianapolis, Jim Caldwell. They were 10-6. They lost to the Jets, coincidentally enough, in the wild card game. That was a 34-year-old Peyton Manning. 34-year-old Peyton Manning. They were 10-6. The very next season, they went 2-14. And if you go back, that's the year, obviously, no Peyton Manning. and they had the likes of Orlovsky. Remember, Kerry Collins suited up for a couple games. Curtis Painter played. Now, people will sit there and say, well, suck for luck, they're tanking. Well, they were a bad football team, but I went back and looked at some of these games. They lost to the Steelers by 3. They got blown out by the Saints, which was ugly, 62-7. They lost by 4 to Kansas City. They lost by 2 to New England. They lost by 6 to Jacksonville, but they also won 2 out of their last 3. They were 0-13 and won back-to-back games against Tennessee and Houston and then the Jacksonville. Now, they had some ugly losses, don't get me wrong. They knew they needed a quarterback, so they tried their hand with a couple different veterans, and it didn't work out. And I think that's where everyone started to believe in the whole notion of tanking in the NFL. Well, look who they're sending out there. Look who they're trotting out there. Well, I think that was also not by design. That was out of necessity. What the Jets are doing is not out of necessity because obviously any football fan or astute football fan can see that Tyrod Taylor is a better quarterback than Brady Cook. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, I get it. He's a journeyman quarterback, but he's better than a kid that's had a cup of coffee in the NFL and thrown a couple passes. And oh, by the way, he's already thrown 6 picks in 3 games. So that Indianapolis team, out of necessity, had to throw some of those guys out there. What the Jets are doing isn't out of necessity. This is design, which would give you or make you believe that this is tanking. So the next question is, okay, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, there's really nothing the NFL, what are they going to do? They're going to dock them? No, they're not going to do that. They're not going to do that. If I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm trying to win football games. I'm trying to prolong my career as an NFL head coach because my rookie season as an NFL head coach with the Jets has been a disaster. I didn't assemble the right coaching staff. We made some bad moves. We had some really bad moves. I mean, look, you trade away Sauce, and now it's looking obviously like that's probably the smartest thing in the world because the Colts were 1-5 since training, or are 1-5 since training Sauce Gardner. They're out of the playoffs. They went all in, and now it backfired. So they got equity for Sauce, and the Colts have gone in a different direction. That's why they got to throw Phillip Rivers out there. It's been a disappointing season. Colts were the toast of the NFL after 9-10 games, 8-1, 8-2. They're not making the playoffs. And unfortunately, you got to trot the 45-year-old Phillip Rivers, who asserted himself nicely last night, but that's out of necessity. That's out of necessity. What the Jets are doing is by design. So yes, by definition, it does give the appearance of tanking. The Giants, I think, are trying to play hard. Now, you can sit there and say, well, how about some of these play calls to start the game? These design calls, right, for Jackson Dart. And they're not letting him throw it. Why? Because they want to bubble wrap him, or they're just playing out the string. So offensively, they're playing some of these calls by design, but you almost get the sense, well, what are you even playing for? Why are you even showing up on a Sunday? And it all goes down to how these teams are run, how these franchises are run. There's bad football in the NFL. There's always going to be bad football. The Jets are a bad team. They're a bad franchise. Cleveland's a bad team. That's a poorly run franchise. The Raiders are a bad team. It's a poorly run franchise right now. They're 2-13. The Giants, poorly ran franchise. They're 2-13 as well. They've dropped 8 in a row. They're bad. They're bad. But New Orleans is bad, but they're playing hard. Arizona is bad, but they're trying. They're playing hard. Atlanta's but they're playing hard. What these other teams are doing, it's a travesty. It's a joke. It's a joke. Now, you take a scenario like Cleveland where they threw out Flacco, then they went to Gabriel. Now here you go, Sanders. I don't think that's tanking. They got to see if they have something in this kid. The Jets, What are you trying to see out of Brady? Like, listen, you made the move for Justin Fields. And in a small sample size, Justin Fields showed you he cannot play like a starting quarterback in the NFL. He's just not at this moment in time. He's not a starting quarterback. He's not the caliber of starting quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, at least, is a veteran that showed you he can win some games and throw the football down the field. And he can run an offense. Brady Cook can't. Can't. He just can't. Gabriel can't. At this point of his career, Russell Wilson can't. Geno Smith can't. Whoever the hell's under center for New Orleans, I don't think they can either. So when you look at everything and you break it down, yeah, it does give the appearance that it is by design. Losing on purpose. You're 3-12. You've lost the last 3 games by 75 total points. So with that being said, how the hell is this man's job security safe? How is his job secure? Speaking of Aaron Glenn. So you got Taylor and you're starting Cook. You sideline Garrett Wilson for the rest of the year when, again, there's a sentiment that he can play. Isn't the point you try to win football games, even if you're not good, you try, you give the appearance that you're trying, it's on film? The Giants, some players are making business decisions, but they're trying. Tennessee, they're trying. The Saints, they're trying. Cleveland, you got some players, they're trying. But man, when you accuse an NFL franchise of tanking, losing on purpose, then doesn't that fall on the head coach too? Doesn't the head coach have to sit there and say, no, we're not going to do this. Enough is enough. And here's a guy in Aaron Glenn that played with the franchise, a guy that played at a high level for years. There is a difference. There is a difference between business decisions and not playing hard and tanking. Like the Giants, they want to win some games. Now, the fans, like myself, we don't want them to win. So you get the overall draft pick. The Raiders, the Browns, the Titans, the Cardinals, trying to win. Trying to win. If you're slated for the number 1 draft pick, wonderful. But you got players on the field that are trying to win. You got an all-pro caliber player. You have a Pro Bowl selection in Brian Burns, the only rep for the Giants. He wants to win. He's trying. But I don't know. What's the repercussions here? What's the NFL going to do? How do you prove it? How do you prove it? I can't sit there. If you shut down a player because he's on the injury report, that's your right. Optics are everything, man. Optics are everything. We talked about this yesterday. And there's a staggering number of teams I did this research, over the last 8 to 10 years. When you start to look at these 3 to 4 game slides, they usually evolve into 8-9 game losing streaks. Their season's over before it even starts. All right, 20 past 4 o'clock hour. We're cranking up on a Tuesday edition of On Cue. Rich Quinones here. As always, you can get social with us on X and the YouTube channel, hashtag OnQ, SR1029 FM The Game, part of the Coastal Sports Digital Network. If you download the AUDACY app right now and search Coastal Sports Digital Network, you'll hear me Monday to Friday, 4 to 6 live. As I mentioned, David Schultz, 505, Locked On Sunbelt Conference. We'll talk a little college football with him. Nice showing from James Madison. Let's open it up and get some of your comments as well. We'll do that on the other side. You guys keep it locked in. Quick timeout. We'll come back, as always, first segment powered by our good friends over at Play It Again Sports, 2 locations, 1450 Clemens Bridge Road in Deptford, New Jersey. New location in Mount Laurel as well. They got the doorbusters going on for the holiday sales right now. Check them out on Facebook. Give them a follow as well. We'll take up to 6 o'clock straight up. Keep it locked in to a Tuesday edition of On Cue. All right, welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned, we'll take you up to 6. And again, we're live on the YouTube channel at Rich Q on X, working on multiple platforms for the new year. But I encourage you guys, I'm asking you guys, I don't like to plead, nor do I like to beg, but I am respectfully asking you guys, because it is Festivus and I have grievances with some of you goofballs, do me a solid. Download the Audacy app right now and search Coastal Sports Digital Network and lock it in. All right, let's get some of these comments. New headphones, who this? AKA He 12 Man, AKA Heisman, AKA Steeler Nation, AKA now Duval, AKA simply known as Vince chimes in. Now, Jet fans, Jets are tanking since Q says, but when I gave him my conspiracy about the Browns tanking, you told me teams don't tank in the NFL. YouTube critiquing Q's pod coming in 2026. Who's with me? No. What I said is this. I said, now follow me. That's a good one, by the way, Vince. I appreciate that. That's a good way to start the show. I would subscribe to that channel, by the way, because it has to do with me. So I would subscribe. Just don't go live 4 to 6, please. What I said is, it's different what the Browns are doing. Like you guys, Browns fans, like Mike and Ohio, right? You guys clamored for Shedeur Sanders. Now you're getting Shedeur Sanders. You've been getting Shedeur Sanders. Now, obviously, it wasn't by design. It was by default, because think about the quarterbacks they went through. Like, there's a big difference. You jettison Flacco. Gabriel doesn't work out. He gets banged up. Watson's out there, and we'll get to him later on. And then you got Sanders. So the question is the kid going to be able to play? Now, it's almost like default, get him out there. Let's see what we have. It's more of seeing Sanders than, well, what does Brady Cook have? Does that make sense? And you got a first-year head coach in Aaron Glenn. Your job is to try to win football games. Stefanski's been around the block. This is not his first rodeo with the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland plays hard. There are some games that are blowouts in the NFL. That happens. But they played Cincinnati tough. They played the Vikings tough. The Patriots pulled away in the second half. They played the Jets tough. They played the Ravens tough. They beat the Raiders. They played the Titans tough. They played the Bills tough. What the Jets are doing and these decisions, it is almost like the definition of we're trying to lose on purpose. Like, explain to me, why is Cook playing and Taylor's not? The job is to win games. That's why I even said, let's see what Sanders has. You're not going to win many, but go out there and see if the kid can get some reps under center. I gave you the Colts example of Andrew Luck. When they had those 3 quarterbacks, when it was Orlovsky, Painter, and Collins, that was by default. They had no choice. You're going to tell me that the Colts aren't trying to win right now? They had to go and get Phillip Rivers. They're not trying to tank. They wanted to win ball games because they're right on the cusp of a playoff. Now, pretty much they're done. The Colts were bad back then, and then they got the number 1 overall draft pick, and they were able to turn around. You got a first-year head coach in New York with the Jets, and they're giving you nothing. The players, some are playing hard, but for the majority, how do you explain this defense not showing up? How do you explain this team getting blown out every single solitary Sunday? They're not even competitive, and they're less competitive when you're throwing, and no disrespect to this kid, Brady Cook out there. They're less competitive. And also, when you turn around and you're keeping Garrett Wilson on the IR when there's a thought that Garrett Wilson can play. That's all I'm saying. And I wasn't dismissing of what you were saying. I still believe in the NFL. That is such a dicey word to use, because if you ask players, they're not quitting on purpose. It's the franchise and these decisions that they're making would actually give the appearance that the players are quitting because of who they're putting out there. I'm going to stick bad players out there. I'm going to stick a young quarterback out there who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That to me is, in essence, the taboo word of tanking. We're not trying to win. And I find it very hard to do in the NFL. But the Jets right now, by definition, that's exactly what it means. Madman, always the meetings. Michael chimes in, Bronco country, let's ride. I'm glad to see Michael's over that Broncos loss. Q, did you think Andrew Luck would be done for good when he retired? Listen, Andrew Luck, Andrew Luck is kind of a different bird. He's a different animal. His body he got beat up. Andrew Luck got beat up. Andrew Luck was a generational quarterback coming out of Stanford. Everyone knew it. But again, you got a quarterback that put up gaudy, ridiculous numbers. I mean, I remember Andrew Luck in 2014. I said, oh my God, this guy is the best quarterback in the NFL. Then he got hurt the next year. Then he came back and he played well. Numbers dipped a little bit, but he still put up over 4,000 yards. And then he had the shoulder injury. And I think that was pretty much it. And remember, too, he retired the year Andrew Luck, I should say, his final year in the NFL, he threw for almost 4,800 yards, almost 40 touchdowns. Now, he's not a Hall of Famer, but he gave you that little window, and they won a lot of football games, but it also sent the franchise back. I just think his body betrayed him. He got mentally worn down, and it happens sometimes in the NFL. We've seen over the last 2, 3, 4 years, more players are retiring younger. I also think with CTE being much more pronounced, these players dealing with concussions. I mean, you're talking about the quarterback position. You're getting hit a lot. I'm going to count it up right now for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 86 games, Andrew Luck was sacked 174 times, not including the playoffs. So your mind might want to keep going, but your body can't go through it anymore. And you guys know this. You guys are smart fans. You've been watching the NFL and football your whole life. 3 to 5 years back in the day, that was the life expectancy of an NFL player. For a running back, it was 2 to 3 years. Now, some of these guys want to play 5 to 7. Some guys, if they're lucky, will play a decade and they won't deal with any injuries. But other players will deal with injuries. And it will cut their careers short. Look, this kid from Minnesota, J.J. McCarthy, he's out again with a hand injury. Like, some players are just injury prone, especially quarterback position. You can't be injury prone. I need you out there. Some quarterbacks just take a pounding, a beating. It's amazing to think guys like Troy Aikman and Steve Young played as long as they did. The Sims of the world played as long as they did. The Elways, these guys took beatings, but they were available every Sunday. And back in the day, it wasn't concussed. They got their bell rang and then they came back in. It's totally different now. And I think we're more sensitive to that. So when you start to talk about CTE, concussions, it's just not good. It really isn't. I swear Luck would come back at some point. I think a lot of people did because he retired so young. But I think, sometimes you realize, man, I don't want to get up. I don't want to train. I don't want to watch what I have to eat. I don't want to go through OTAs or 2-a-days or 3-a-days and training camp and preseason. You ask any player, and I've asked them, a lot of players will sit there and say, hey, man, come Sunday, I'm ready to go. But it's the Monday to Friday. It's the off season. Now I'm in year 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh my goodness. Do I want to go back out there? Do I want to get in the gym 3 to 5 days a week? Do I want to get my miles in? Do I want to keep going to the chiropractor? Do I want to keep getting injected? Do I want the doctor to fiddle around with my lower back or my hip or my thighs or my knees? Do I want to deal with this all the time? The nagging injuries. And to some players, listen, I'll give you a perfect example. Brandon Jacobs, you guys know I'm tight with Brandon Jacobs. Brandon Jacobs would tell me time and time again, hit me in the head, don't hit me down low. Hit me in the head, hit me down low. Down low is my livelihood. I'll deal with the repercussions of getting hit up top. And that's a running back. That's a 6'7", 6'8" running back that wanted to deliver and absorb punishment. And to think he lasted that long in the NFL, I get worried with a player like Scadaboo because he's a nut job. He wants to hit people constantly, constantly. Wants to just drive right into them, not get out of bounds. You love it, but are you going to last? And it kind of goes back to where I started. You've got some of these players right now, they're looking around saying, man, you're not giving, players don't want to lose football games. They just don't. These guys make millions of dollars, yes, but they're also very prideful. They have egos. Do you really think the Titans wanted to lose 10, 11 straight games at home? You think some of these Jet players want to have the season that they're having, or the Giants players with the season that they're having, or the Saints can't figure out the quarterback position, so you're throwing some guys out there. Now you're asking the offensive line, who's getting their ass busted every play, do me a favor, run, block, pass, protect. Yeah, it's your job, but I'm not gonna have a mobile quarterback back there. He's gonna be a statue. Like, it's not their fault, but you still got to go out there and play and make plays. You know, the Raiders, they gave you an honest effort, even though they lost to the Texans. But they're not a good football team. And sometimes you're just not a good football team. But they're sending Geno Smith out there. The Giants are continuing to play Jackson Dart. The Cardinals are like, hey, Kyler, hurt, whatever, Tua, we got to bench it. We don't want to deal with you anymore. You're not good. We're trying to win football games. So now, Zach Wilson, you're not the answer. Let's go to kid from Texas. The Jets have a viable option in a veteran quarterback in Taylor that can help them win games. Now, they're just not concerned about that. And I'm telling you, it's got to bother some of these players in the locker room. Players don't want to be tabbed as losers. It weighs on you. It weighs on a player to lose football games, especially when they're busting their ass every Sunday. That's all I'm saying. Do you know about the Wyatt Teller situation with the Browns? It's similar to the Jets and Wilson prior to the injury designation. He was rotating with the backup already, and he's in a contract year. The politics, man. That's another thing that goes, it's not talked about enough. And you're talking about the right guard. You're talking about the right guard, the kid out of Virginia Tech. I think it was, if you remember, there was I know him, and I shouldn't say there was because I know him, but Thomas DePay. Thomas DePay was a fullback, 5th round, played college in Minnesota, played for the Eagles. He was selected by the Eagles. He played for Minnesota. Great guy. Great guy. Used to come on my show. We did a couple appearances together. So he was basically, your old school fullback. And in 2007, he played 16 games. And what happened was he was battling a knee injury. He tells me the story all the time. But if you go back, statistically, Brian Westbrook's best seasons, rushing, receiving, yards per carry, yards per reception, total touchdowns, were all predicated on the blocking of one Thomas DePay, the running back, the fullback. Open up space, situational football. Here we go. Now, he signed, because he told me the story, he signed a 5-year contract with Minnesota. And at the time, this was in 2008, I believe, because 2007, he was banged up. 2008, he signed the deal with Minnesota. Their head coach was Brad Childress. And Childress was the OC in Philadelphia. So here we go, right? So now I'm going to get Thomas DePay with Childress, that offensive line. By the way, right, an NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year in Peterson. His knee injury from the prior season resurfaced. He was placed on injury reserve after a couple games, and I think he fought to get like $2 million signing bonus back, but instead he got an injury settlement. And effectively, because the business of the NFL sucks, he was released and he basically retired. Point is, he was playing hurt. There's a difference, hurt and injured. He was playing hurt. 16 games for the Philadelphia Eagles. right, to open up opportunities for Westbrook, battling through this. And the Eagles, listen, we could shut him down, right? Or the player wants to get shut. He didn't want that because you got an ego. You're a prideful player. You want to be out there. You want to go to battle. You want to be in the trenches. You want to help your team win football games. And then, unfortunately, right, the football gods turned their backs on him because he couldn't pass the physical. And when I've always asked him this, he said, look, if I do it again, I probably would have been out there. But the smart thing was to just sit, rest, recover. And if I had to get surgery, couldn't pass physical. So I say all that to say this. Players, they want to be out there. They want to win. They want to give you an honest effort. Difference again, and Kevin chimes in, Q, you keep saying this, difference again between business decisions and tanking, it's apples and oranges. Yes. You watch the kid bangs for the Giants that doesn't make tackles. That's a waste of a player. Those are business decisions. I'm not going to get involved. It's late November, late December. I'm thinking about the offseason. I'm not going to tackle. But then you get other players that want to be out there battling because they're injured, because they weren't trying to get incentives. They got, kickers in their contract, clauses in their contract, which kind of leads me to this. I got to go down the rabbit hole for a second. Did you see now what's going on with DK Metcalf and the contract? And not to kind of switch gears abruptly, but I did not want to forget to bring this up. So he's been suspended by the NFL, and I gave you my thoughts on this yesterday. And obviously it rubbed some people the wrong way. I posted on TikTok. I put it on the short. And again, to clarify, never advocate for violence. All I said yesterday was that our world at times would be a better place if, sometimes the people that just ran their mouths were held a little more accountable. I think I used a phrase, you get cracked in the jaw. I don't like what the fan did. I don't know what the fan did, but I don't like the fact that he made the beeline towards DK Metcalf. This fan has a reputation of trying to goat players, and I guess had an issue with DK Metcalf. I don't know what was said, what made him want to go over. Shouldn't have done it. End of story. Both were wrong. Optics were wrong, but sometimes these fans take it way too far. Okay, I said my piece on that. Now, in hindsight, if you're DK Metcalf, you're thinking to yourself, what the hell did I get myself into? What did I do? Because now, because of this suspension, he's going to learn the hard way that actions have consequences. And this is kind of boiled up. Like his MO, his rep in the NFL is being a little bit of a hothead. And sometimes you can get under players' skin. Players love to get under the opposition's skin. You can poke the bear. And what happens? Sometimes I make a boneheaded play. I'm not running a route. I miss a block. I get a penalty, unnecessary roughness. I get taunting. I'm getting sucked in. The second man always gets caught. A couple ejections over the last 5 years. That's kind of evidence that, all right, he can easily be rattled. So you go back to Sunday's game. Steelers win it. Wild game, one of the wildest games of the year, 29-24 over the Lions. And he gets into the altercation with the Lions fan, laid it hands on him. You can't do that. You can't do that. Gets a 2-game suspension. Conduct detrimental to the league. Now follow me. The NFL suspends him for conduct detrimental to the league. Now, why is that verbiage important? Because the suspension is now going to cost him about $600 in salary over the course of the next 2 games. Those are the final 2 of the regular season. Now, Metcalf stands to lose considerably more. And again, this is a report from Jonathan Jones, CBS Sports. Metcalf's contract stipulates if he, quote, fails to practice or play with the club for any reason, now brace for this, then his $45 million in remaining guaranteed money will be voided. This includes missing time to what? missing time due to suspension by the league or the Steelers organization for conduct detrimental. Imagine that. Now, he can earn the money back, but if the suspension is upheld and the Steelers have a financial out in regards to his contract, I think it's 4 years, $132 he signed this offseason, then basically, listen, his future in Pittsburgh, it's muddy waters, man. But how about that? I mean, imagine that, getting provoked to the fact where you're not even thinking about your actions and being held accountable. And all that money could be potentially lost. That is a bitter pill to potentially swallow. It really is. It really is. Glenn chimes in, Q. I'm going to say that my Colts are, as you would say, cooked, but I'll say this. Got to give credit where credit is due. Uncle Rivers was slinging it last night. That's a great story. It is. What Phillip Rivers is doing is pretty remarkable. You know, and I laughed. You know, Troy Aikman kind of even laughed talking about the committee that voted him. Teams don't have committees like that. Players aren't sitting in a locker room and voting a guy off the island or welcoming him to the island. But I got to give credit. You know, Phillip Rivers and sorry, Steve Young, respect the hell out of you. You're not coming back at 60-something years old and slinging it, my friend. But Phillip Rivers, you know, he's got that joy and passion for the game. And the franchise is enamored by him. They loved him with that one season, and that's why they brought him back. You know, he is a pros pro. He is a pros pro. And I also told you last night during the show, and I'm waiting for Madman to acknowledge this because Madman was kind of hovering yesterday with his 49ers. And I believe I said, quote, if you're going to do anything in this game, the 49ers will get to Rivers and they're going to turn him over. And I think if we mark the tape, we mentioned pick six. So you guys don't like when I pat myself on the back. I'm not doing it on a Tuesday, but I'm just saying pick six once in a while. There we go. We get one right. That's all. I said, play the 49ers defense. You're going to make a turnover. Don't now wide on me. Michael says that's bad money, Alfred. That's huge. That is huge to lose that kind of money. And the other thing is this. I gotta pull up the updated. Let me pull them up right now with you guys. Updated. Let's go through these together. All right, let me get you the updated. All right, here you go. So this is the latest after the 49ers game. All right. So, New England clinched, Pats clinched, Jacksonville clinched, Pittsburgh is 9-6, divisional leaders. Jacksonville clinched a playoff berth on Monday because Indianapolis lost to San Fran. Congratulations, Vince. Jags can close out the AFC South with wins over the Colts in Tennessee. Denver, New England, and Pittsburgh all need to win out to secure their division titles as well. So that Denver Chargers game could be the coup de grace to figure out the AFC West close out the season. Denver faces the Chargers week 18. Pittsburgh takes on Baltimore in its regular season finale. So you got, obviously, I think it's an understatement to say meaningful games. Wild card race. Chargers, number 5 seed, Buffalo 6, Houston 7. The Chargers and Bills locked in their playoff spots with the Colts loss. Okay. Colts are still in the hunt. Baltimore as well. The Colts need to win out and receive help from the Chargers in week 17. So anytime you need help, you're not getting in the NFL. Now, this is what's interesting. Baltimore can only qualify for the playoffs if they win the AFC North. The Ravens need to win out and have the Steelers lose both of their last games, their last 2 games. Now, the Metcalf suspension, he's been a very good offensive player this season. And they were lucky to get that win against the Lions. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they've got the Browns. Now, you're going to tell me, for my Ohio faithful, and I'm talking to Mike in Ohio, and Chad up there in Akron, who's a big-time Cleveland fan as well. Can you imagine Pittsburgh goes on the road against a heated rival in Cleveland, and Cleveland figures out a way to beat them? Then all of a sudden, everything's up for grabs. The last game of the season for the Baltimore Ravens. So the loss of DK Metcalf from an offensive standpoint is huge for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Huge. Like, they're losing a big-time playmaker. We already know who's eliminated. We don't need to go through that. NFC. Seattle, Chicago, Philly, all clinched. 2 of the 4 NFC divisional leaders are going to face off in Week 17. Carolina is right there on the cusp. Seattle visits the Panthers, and that game to me is going to decide a lot. You got like 4 seeds in a wild card race, so that game's going to be bonkers. That's a great game to watch. Chicago plays the 49ers. That has a substantial amount of meaning as well. Philly will play Buffalo in Week 17. Eagles already wrapped up a playoff spot. They already won the division. They can move up to the standings if they win out, and the teams in front of them also lose. Wild card race. 49ers sitting at 5, clinch a playoff berth. The Rams at 6, clinch a playoff berth. Green Bay right now sitting at 7, and the Lions now come right back down. The Lions, it opens up again for them, which is crazy because they're still in the hunt. Tampa's done. Detroit needs to win out and have Green Bay lose out to get into the postseason at 10-7. Now, why do I bring that up for those that think the Detroit Lions are shot? It's more or less not really about the Detroit Lions. It's about the Green Bay Packers. Because the Packers are dealing with an injury with the quarterback. So that's something to monitor. I mean, listen, you're talking about concussion, right? So if Jordan Love's listed as limited participant, right? Limited, and we get to Thursday, Friday, that tells me that Jordan Love is not going to be available for the Green Bay Packers. And he might miss this week's game against Baltimore. And then they close out the season against Minnesota. Minnesota would love to knock them out of playoff contention. So we're kind of going through the playoff scenarios, but there's always this trickle-down effect right now. Like, we know certain things are locked in, but some of these teams can slide big time. Some of these teams that we thought a couple weeks ago, they were locked in, here we go. Now it's a different story. It's a different animal. I have no idea. That's a good question. That is a very, very good question. I don't know. I can't answer that. I mean, maybe you guys, you have your cereal in the morning, your little, frosted or Lucky Charms, little Frosted Flakes, little Cheerios, little Cocoa Puffs. And you turn around, you see the milk carton, and you see the face missing of Luca Brasi. I have no idea. The bunker has been very quiet. And I believe the bunker is rebuilding for the holiday season. That's what I believe. I believe the bunker right now is rebuilding. Vince, thanks, Q, but we're not done. We're 1 game away from a first-round bye, and we can see the playoffs running through beautiful Duval. It's very questionable, just this wavering and flopping that you have done. Come on, Q. We both know Stefanski will do something dumb like go for 2 down 14 or punt from his own 40 to lose a game. Because he got that extension last year that nobody knows the details of. Listen, I have no idea what's brewing or cooking in Cleveland. I can't answer that. I mean, I speak to guys, like I told you, some guys that I still know up there doing radio and cover the team, and they're almost, their line of thinking is this right now. They just want to get through the season. It's been drama. The Browns have been drama. By the way, they're not activating Deshaun Watson from the PUP list. Nope. Not happening. So you get 2 more games to look at Shador Sanders. Kevin chimes in, Q. Right now, if you're doing a mock, do you think the Giants will grab the top spot or will it be the Raiders? Well, the Raiders-Giants game is pretty much going to decide it. Either way, you're going to have one of these teams, 1 or 2. Cleveland right now would draft 3. The Jets would be 4. Arizona would be 5. And, we talked about Tua and his contract in Miami. Arizona's got a albatross of a contract in Kyler Murray. Tennessee will draft 6. Washington 7. New Orleans 8. Miami 9. Again, the Tua issue. And then Cincinnati at 10. Mike in Ohio chimes in. Q, that's a good point that you brought up early on to start the show. You're talking again about the decision to play a player or not play a player, but I also think the game within the game. Sometimes you can tell from play calling that it gives the appearance some of these teams are tanking, or maybe it's just the fact that some of these head coaches have no idea what the hell they're doing. I think that's also a fair point. I do. I think that's a very fair point. Some of these coaches just, I think they're in over their head. I really do. It goes back to this whole conversation. You can really only have it in the NFL. If you don't have a franchise quarterback and you don't have pieces around him, you're not going to win many football games. In the NBA, you have your starting 5 and you have a deep bench. But nowhere is it written you have to have a dominant center because the game, obviously, it's changed over the last 15, 20 years. And now you got the bigs. They want to be in the wing. They want to actually take their fanny not off the low block, but they want to be beyond the perimeter. It's a different animal. In baseball, you would love to have that great reliever, middle relief, and, a 1-2. What do we always hear? You give me a 1 and 2 guy, right? The starting pitchers. And obviously a big bat, a couple big bats and a cleanup hitter, but you can still win, with a steady offense and pitching. The adage in the hockey, NHL, well, you know what? The goalie's on fire, right? You got 2 goalies, you don't have a goalie. It's a goalie controversy. But you can still win. But in the NFL, like the most prominent position, the most vital position to be successful is the quarterback position. And I'm afraid too with some of these teams like the Giants, like the Raiders, like the Jets, like Cleveland, you don't need to overreach. You don't need to panic. You just don't. This sentiment as Jackson Dart the guy, I believe he is. I believe in a sample size. I think he's regressed under Mike Kafka. I also believe the Giants are putting him in bubble wrap. They don't want this kid to get hurt because another concussion, a couple concussions in a handful of games to start your NFL career, that will sound the alarm. And maybe they would start to entertain the thought of drafting this kid Mendoza on that alone. But I believe Jackson Dart will be a franchise quarterback for the Giants. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I hope I'm not. I hope I'm right. I hope the kid's healthy for the next 7, 8, 9 years, 10 years, and they win some football games and give me a competitive product on the field. And you bring in a head coach that can right the ship, calm the waters. But you also need pieces around that quarterback. Like, okay, take New England. Mike Vrabel, Tennessee, gets fired. Everyone says, well, maybe he wasn't the problem. Maybe it's the way the GM and the owner were trying to build the team. And now look where they're at. And look what Vrabel is doing in New England. You can argue coach of the year with Ben Johnson, with Cohen, coach of the year. But you got to have the pieces in place. But you can't overreach. You can't just pick a quarterback to pick a quarterback. You just can't do that in the NFL. Years ago, all these pundits would come out with Cleveland. Well, eventually they're going to get it right. Yeah, but do you want to keep doing that to the fan base? Going through some of these quarterbacks that are not franchise quarterbacks, that are not going to last 3, 4, 5 years in the NFL, that aren't going to win you playoff games? You don't make a pick to make a pick. You just don't. J-Dog Watson. Yes, I did call San Fran's defense getting the pick 6, and that's exactly what happens. Thank you, Michael. Seriously, I'm going to keep that. I think I might just kind of keep that comment up there because, again, haters hate. The problem is, and again, because this is Festivus and it's the airing of the grievances, you guys are so quick to point out everything I get wrong. Everything. That's all you do. Nitpick, nitpick, nitpick. Oh, I can't believe Q didn't bring that up with Lloyd. Oh, I can't believe he forgot that with Costco. Oh my goodness, I can't believe he doesn't remember the 32 White Sox. Hey, 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 hey. Just back up. Back up, okay? But when I get one or two right, it's a different story. Um, do grown men who wake up before the sunrise actually eat cereal? Seriously, I didn't eat breakfast until 10, 11 a.m. as lunch. Well, now that's a conversation for another day because, as you know, the most important meal of the day is what? It's breakfast. Now, because Kiki likes to get up at the crack of dawn, we do a little egg white, little fruit, get in, get the workout in, little protein shake, little apple after, feed her. We're good to go. We get a couple meals in before you guys even wake up. Before you guys even see the crack of dawn, I'm up with the birds. And I don't know if the birds are eating cereal. The birds are doing their thing, but I don't know if grown men, if you're grown, you shouldn't be sleeping in till 10, 11. I mean, hell, I'm off the air sometimes at 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, getting a couple of Z's and right back at it. Come on, Vince. Sound like, as you say, you sound like an old man. What was, by the way, if you were to rate, if we were to sit there and go top 5 cereals of all time, oh, that's got to be a tough list. I mean, Lucky Charms is up there. Fruity Pebbles got to be up there. Honey Nut Cheerios, you throw those up there, a classic. Have it as a snack while you're watching that ABC after school movie, maybe a little Sunday night movie on ABC. After football, little CBS, right? Little Murder She Wrote, 60 Minutes. You get the 4 o'clock game, Giants in Washington. And then you watch the, Jaws 2, Rocky 2, whatever the hell you want to watch, Spaceballs, have a little cereal. I would go Fruity Pebbles. Oh, you know what? Honeycombs. Oh, you got to throw them up there. Honeycombs, that's not bad. Honey Nut Cheerios, that's an OG. You remember what was it? Now I'm really gonna date myself. Um, Puff rice cereal. Do you remember? I gotta Google this. Do you remember that? Puff rice? Do you guys remember puff rice? Just cereal. That's all it is. Puff rice. Yeah, some of you guys do. Scott chimes in. Good to hear from Scotty Boy. Let's see what he has to say. Q, how great is the Giants game to a Browns fan this week, moving up the draft? That is all us Browns fans have. Yes, it's bad. It's bad when we have that going on. Not good. Moving up the draft helps the Browns. They need to draft their pick the same way they did this year and get another haul of picks and a lot with the young talent. That is their only legit viable option. That I would agree with. The madman, I'm sure this is a wise ass comment. Yes, because it happens so often. I'm going to take a wild guess and say that's me being right. Excellent job by you guys pointing out that Hugh Jackman is not the coach of the Cleveland Browns, or wasn't the coach of the Cleveland Browns. We know it was Hugh Jackson or Dogger Jackson. Breakfast being the most important meal of the day is a lie created by our food industry, but that's for a different podcast. Oh, really? Are you kidding me? You have to start your day off with breakfast. That's ridiculous. Every growing boy needs breakfast. Come on, stop. I mean, come on. I struck a nerve with Vince. Bro, I leave for work at 5. Please stop it. I'm up at 4. I'm done. I'm doing a podcast at 4. I eat breakfast as lunch. Keep it up, bud. Just give me my honeycombs. Leave me alone. Honeycombs is good. Captain Crunch? Crunch berries? Is there a thing called crunch berries? Let me see. Hold on. I gotta see what we got here. Crunch berries. How much sugar do they? Captain Crunch berries. Wow, cereal's $4 at Acme. Wow. Oh, did you know Captain Crunch is like the distant cousin of Quaker Oats? Now I love oatmeal. I'm all about the oatmeal. Absolutely love oatmeal. But if you go top 5 for me, Fruity Pebbles, we gotta go old school, Honey Nut and, I gotta get my Cocoa Puffs. And listen, that's what I'm saying, right? Podcast critiquing Q, man. We have a deep dive on all this corporate speak we have to get through. Listen, there's no corporate speak. I tell you guys exactly what you wanna hear. That's exactly it. You guys wanna keep arguing with me, we will argue about it. Kevin chimes in, Q, about the tanking. You're right. It's always about the business decisions for some. Yes, it is. And that's kind of like I said, there are business decisions in the NFL, and we're seeing some of these teams make their quote business decisions. Now, I'm not going to, as I said, sit there and say by default, by definition, what the Jets are doing is tanking. But the optics are bad. That's all I'm trying to tell you guys. The optics are bad when you're looking at Aaron Glenn and what the Jets are doing. And some people want to agree to that, and some people don't want to agree with it. That's fine. I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. You guys are entitled to your opinion. It's bad football right now, and he's a rookie head coach, and he played in the NFL. You're going to tell me that Taylor doesn't give him a better option of winning than Cook? That's utterly ridiculous. All right, let's keep the football conversation going. But you know what? We'll talk a little college football. Is David Schultz kind enough to join us on a Tuesday? Locked on Sun Belt, and I'm sure he was pretty giddy with a nice showing by James Madison, which we will get into in a moment. But David, appreciate a couple moments, pal. How are you?
I'm doing well, Rich. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. We had a little bit of traffic
No, no,
in
no,
Central
no,
New
no.
York.
You're good. You're good. You're good. I thought I was gonna joke a little bit. I thought maybe you were having a little hot toddy with the Jim Beam. I know you're.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. I prefer not Big 12.
Yeah, yeah, right. All right. So let's talk a little college football. Now, obviously, you do the Locked On Sunbelt contest podcast, pardon me, for Locked On Podcast Network. You do a great job, by the way. It's really
I
good
appreciate that.
content.
Thanks.
You know, what does James Madison, what did we learn about a smaller conference, a smaller team like JMU having an opportunity in the college football playoffs and making the showing that they had? What does it say about JMU?
Well, I don't think people understand. Maybe I don't even understand. I went back. This is only their fourth season in FBS. In
Right.
2021, so basically coming out of COVID, they were still an FCS school. And so they've gone from winning FCS national championships to playing for the FBS national championship in less than half a decade. And they had, Kurt Signetti, got that program going among others. But they were facility ready when they jumped from FCS to FBS. They were ready to go. And they took, the Sun Belt by storm. They couldn't play in the conference championship or go to a bowl game because of that 2-year agreement, whatever the case may be. Bob Chesney came in. He also, like Kurt Signetti, coached at lower levels, Division 1, 2, and 3, before getting a chance to coach in the FBS. And he's gone from Holy Cross in 2023 to UCLA in 2026 with a stopover at JMU.
That's not a bad joke.
They do a great job. They usually sell their stadium out. They have about a 25,000 seat stadium on one side. It looks like it's brand new, and they're working on completing the other side. The other side kind of looks like maybe an FCS or Division 3 sports, and they're trying to get that up there. I would prefer them, maybe not making it a 40,000 seat stadium, making a little demand on it. But they just do a great job. It is tucked away. That drive was not easy. I went to the Sun Belt Championship from Louisville, Kentucky, and it is a straight shot. But the 3 hours to Huntington are easy. Then you go up and down those mountains. And I don't know if it's the lack of oxygen or what, but the 4-hour drive from Huntington to Harrisonburg felt like it was 8 hours.
Wow. It's
really
it's
weird.
funny.
But
You mentioned the FCS too back in the day, like Delaware and JMU, they used to have battles. I mean, I was
there you
doing
go.
radio in Delaware with the Blue Hens, Casey
Yeah.
Keeler and Flacco and those guys, Omar Cuff. And those teams, the one thing I realized and I remember, those teams can put up points and they can score. And that's exactly what we saw with JMU. Like if you look at, do they have, in your estimation, even along up and down the Sun Belt, do you see, potential late round NFL prospects? Are there first round NFL prospects that you see?
Well, probably not, right? Marshall had a major prospect last year. He was the defensive player of the year. He actually was the player of the year, Michael Green. But but I guess he had some off-field issues that I didn't realize that he had, so he dropped a little bit. First round pick from the Sun Belt is going to be tough. Although the Raging Cajuns had a couple of, I think, early picks. A few years ago on the same team, you had Robert Hunt, and who's an offensive lineman for, I believe, the Carolina Panthers now. He was originally a Dolphin, and Kevin Dotson, who was a Steeler, and the Rams traded for him. They were on the same offensive line, if you can imagine that. So usually in the Sun Belt, which is always referred to as the Fun Belt, it's usually a lot of points. JMU, like App State joined, was a lot of points. Georgia Southern joined, it was a lot of points. JMU brought defense. They are an incredibly good defensive squad. They shut out opponents 6 times out of 6 games in the second half. They actually beat Oregon 28-17 in the second half. I know there's obviously Oregon was playing a bunch of backups and young guys, but people told me that the second team of Oregon would beat JMU, and they didn't. Although offensively, Oregon played mostly starters on offense, including Dante Moore. So it was a really good job by JMU. I think somewhere along the way, Rich, we've gotten to this point. If you can't win a championship, you can't play in the playoffs.
Right.
Well, so let's cut the Master. What is the Masters? 80 guys. Let's cut that down to 30. The U.S. Open is about 144. Hell, the PGA Championship. Think about that. The PGA Championship allows PGA teaching pros to play. And outside of the guy a couple of years ago who almost won it, they never win. So they get to play. And then you have what about the long shots at the Kentucky Derby or the Triple Crown? They get to run in it for whatever reason. So I'm not sure why people are so upset that Notre Dame didn't get in it. If Notre Dame beat A&M or Miami, they would have been in it. They had chances.
Oh yeah, listen, I can't stand Notre Dame. I was happy that
Yeah,
they didn't get in, and I actually, I was, when we were previewing their game against Texas A&M, Miami's. I actually thought Texas A&M. I thought Miami was going to win the game. I didn't think it was going to be a low scoring. But see, people will look at that, or they'll look at, say, a JMU, and they get blown out, but they still kind of. We'll punch up Dave one more time. I think it's a signal issue, but they'll look at a team like that, and what'll happen is they will sit there and say that they're not worthy of being in a college football playoff, and we'll punch him up in a second. I think he lost his signal. Let me switch real quick. Oh, you guys want to fact check me? All right, up now. We'll pull Dave back up. That's all right. Let's get him back up there. So yeah, what I was saying is that they'll look at a team that maybe gets blown out, or just doesn't have that good showing, and say this is why they shouldn't have got in. But I harken back. Remember years ago, App State beat Michigan.
Well, and that's FCS school, right? Yeah. They weren't even FBS yet.
Yeah.
App State's now in the Sun Belt, and people are trying to tell me that Tennessee getting blown out is different than JMU getting blown out. I don't understand that. Oregon and Tennessee got blown out just last year. That doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. Brock Huard, ESPN commentator, says that 50-plus teams would have done a better job against Oregon than JMU did. Well, I presume there's 50-plus teams that would have scored more than 3 points at home than A&M did.
Right.
Go look at what the Big Ten. We don't even have to talk about JMU. Go look what Indiana did to the Big Ten, and then go look what they did to JMU. Old Dominion could have won that ball game. They turned the ball over, probably because of Indiana's defense, but they turned the ball over a little bit. Indiana beat Old Dominion 27-14. That was it. Wisconsin got hammered. Illinois got hammered. Indiana rolled outside of Penn State and Ohio State. They rolled through the Big Ten.
Yep. Yeah. They made an absolute mockery of it, right? And obviously now
ODU at the beginning of the season lost by 13.
Right. That's always the rub, right? And now everyone's going to sit there and say, well, Indiana's going to punch up. They're going to step up in weight class with Alabama, and then you got Ole Miss and Georgia and Oregon and Texas Tech.
Well, there's
interesting point.
Yeah. Let's be honest. There's a little pressure on Indiana in this case, right? Alabama's not quite as good as Indiana, as Alabama has been. And there's going to be still that chip on their shoulder that Indiana, although they beat Ohio State, they went out to Eugene and beat Oregon. Now you're stepping up and playing the big boy Alabama, although it's not, the Mac Jones Indianas or the Julio Jones Alabamas or the, Derrick Henry Alabamas or the Mark Ingram Indianas or Alabamas. So we'll see. I'm certainly rooting for Indiana, although that was an impressive win by Alabama, down 17-0. Everybody had already given up on them. Kalen DeBoer was coaching Michigan, and I woke up to a huge comeback. How about that?
Yeah, listen, and it's a good point you bring up. It's a fair point because you do look at Alabama and you're thinking of the mystique. Here's a team that's always been there. You know, they're there every single year. They're fighting for a national championship like at Georgia. And I know that Indiana's laying points in this game. I thought maybe they would be a little more loose, but after what you just said, you're right. There's probably pressure on them. All right, if you're really legit, then you should take care of Alabama.
Yeah, they really should. And I think they will. I think the disappointing part is that they don't get a home playoff game. I think eventually the first two rounds, if we go to 16 or 24, the first two rounds of the playoffs should be at home. I mean, it was an Ole Miss blowout over Tulane, but that's the biggest sporting event in the history of the state. My goodness. Oregon got to host, A&M got to host, lost. OU got to host, but lost. Those are so much fun. And let's be honest, what we want to see for the most part, as somebody who's covered football in the South, we want to go see Alabama play Michigan in Michigan. We want to see Georgia taking on Penn State in January in Happy Valley. We don't want it in a dome. No. We want to see those Southern teams have to deal with those elements and see if they can handle it. Yeah. That's what we want to see.
Yeah, just go ask Miami Dolphins in Tua when you get them in cold weather, right?
Right. Well, we're hoping that as a Patriots fan, we're hoping that's the case.
Oh, you're all right. Well, we'll talk a little. So you're all right. We'll talk a little NFL in a second. I do want to ask you about the Napier hire. What do you think of that?
Well, I'm a big Billy Napier fan. He turned well, I will rephrase that. He continued what Mark Hudspeth did with the Raging Cajuns. Mark Hudspeth started what has been an 8-year run in bowl games for the Louisiana Raging Cajuns. They missed out one time in about the last decade when they couldn't quite find a quarterback. And I think Billy Napier did a great job with the Cajuns, probably stayed an extra year because he didn't find that right fit. And then when he got to Florida, he never got the quarterback right. It never settled on the quarterback. What the Cajuns are having a problem with now is keeping their quarterback healthy. That's been the problem. Mike Desimo in each of his first 3 seasons or 4 seasons, I guess now, has had to deal with an injured quarterback. Billy Napier's last 3 years, the same quarterback started each and every game. One of the reasons he actually came back. Levi Lewis did not miss a start in 3 seasons as a starting quarterback for the Raging Cajuns. And that's why they became successful. Their only loss that year, when 13-1 was to Texas to open up the season. And then they went on, you know who they went on the road to beat? They went on the road to beat some guy at Iowa State named Brock Purdy, who just threw 5 touchdowns yesterday. The first time that's happened for San Francisco since some guy named Montana. So the Cajuns went on the road to do that. I think Billy Napier is going to be a great coach. He may actually stay a little bit longer, right? Because unfortunately, he's got that nickname, Sunbelt Billy. So JMU may luck into something where, they have somebody who stays there for a full class, right? That, they can manage that for the next 4 or 5 years before he gets another chance at a Power 4 job.
And you're bringing in the credibility, right? So that's going to help with recruiting as well at the end of the day. I mean, that's kind of...
Yes, he can recruit. He absolutely can recruit the Sun Belt. He did a really good job. I don't know if Virginia's going to be the same thing like Louisiana. When he got to Louisiana, he said, I don't have to go out of state. I just have to recruit Louisiana. I can go maybe pick a few out of Texas, pick a few out of Mississippi and Alabama, but otherwise I got 300 miles radius. Virginia's got a lot of talent, especially in that DMV area. So
that's right. They do.
Go get kids from there.
No, that's a great point. Dave Schultz, a host of Locked On Sunbelt Pod, of course, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Rich Quinones here on Q, 5:15. We'll take you up to 6. I am curious. You mentioned Indiana. We've been going back and forth. By
the way, Lucky Charms is the answer. Or Frosted Flakes.
So no debate.
That's not the question? Okay,
no,
go ahead.
All right, there we go. We got to vote for Lucky Charms. We've been going back and forth. Now, I unfortunately am a Giants fan. I think Jackson Dart is going to be a franchise quarterback, but everyone's talking about. Well, I'll let you go ahead.
We'll see. Right? It feels like Jackson Dart is getting the Trevor Lawrence treatment with the coaches being changed. So we'll see if they get that right.
They have to.
We see it's taken Trevor Lawrence a while to get going. He had that one nice playoff win, but hasn't been very good since, and wasn't necessarily very good before because Urban Meyer was the coach.
Yep.
They get the former
Doug Peterson,
Eagles coach.
Yep.
And it's taken Trevor Lawrence, what are we in, year 5, year 6 before he has emerged.
Yeah. And we have, and I'm sure the Jacksonville Jags fan, Vince, will chime in, and I'm sure we'll get his comment, but we'll keep it right here. I know just some of the Wi Fi issues. Don't worry, we'll punch Dave up because I want to get into this NFL conversation. I really want to get into this NFL conversation when it comes to the quarterback. And you guys are talking about Mendoza. Let me see. He asked very nicely early, man, not to broadcast during 4 to 6 hours since it's the holidays. I'm inclined to compromise. I listen, you can start your own show. I'm okay with that. What I was saying is we were talking a little bit about the quarterback situation,
Right.
and I am curious, is Mendoza pro ready in your estimation?
I don't think so. I think
Really?
Dante Moore is better than Mendoza. I
Wow.
think Mendoza is a good college quarterback. We'll see if that turns into a good pro quarterback. Um, if the Jets make him the number one pick, oh boy, that's to me that's got disaster written all over it. I think Dante Moore is a little bit better. I think Mendoza is a great college quarterback. I don't know if his skill set, and more people are much more qualified than I am to talk about that. I'm not sure if his skill set um, matches what it takes to be an NFL pro.
I've had this conversation, or at least debate, over the years when we talk about the talent evaluation when it comes to the quarterback position. I went back a couple years ago, and some of these first rounders, the Anthony Richardsons, the Mac Jones, the Tuas, Daniel Joneses, first round picks, they've all been benched, and some of them are reclamation projects, some of them aren't. I believe you shouldn't reach just to reach. Like, I feel like if the Giants have the number one draft pick, they're not drafting Mendoza. They're going to trade that
No.
pick and get
Yes.
assets. But the Jets, I feel as though the Jets are just in love with this kid. And the other thing is, okay, is Aaron Glenn the right head coach to coach this kid up? Like, that's the other
Right.
concern that I think Jet fans have been asking me.
That's
But wow, I'm very interested.
being an NFL head coach or big time
Yeah,
college head coach. There's no real training ground for that, right? If
right,
if you're a doctor or a lawyer, surgeon, even like race car driver, you kind of work your way up to figure out how to do it. The
right,
only two
right.
jobs that I can think of are like that. It's kind of like, you know, head coach like that. I mean, Aaron Glenn's never been a head coach.
No,
Now, his story is a good one because he went and did it the right way. He didn't need to. He went and did it the right way. But I think the only two jobs is like NFL head coach and maybe major college head coach and president of the United States. Because until you get to be president of the United States, you don't really know what the job is. You could be vice president, you could be a
right.
senator, but you still don't understand that pressure. And the same thing goes for being a major college or major pro head coach. The funny part is that you always get the question, you always ask the question, what was the one thing that you didn't realize was involved in the coaching? And he's like, well, you don't really coach a lot. You do a bunch of other stuff, especially in
Right,
college.
right,
It's the
right.
assistants do all the coaching.
Sure. And you got to be able to delegate, but if you can't put together the right coaching staff, that's a problem.
That's a major deal in college and in the pros, obviously.
Well,
Yeah.
listen, you mentioned you're a Pats fan. Go back a couple years ago. I went on the record when they hired Mayo. I'm like, this is a disaster. It's go
Well,
you
I
you
didn't know it
can't
was
re-
going to be a disaster, but having the former defensive coordinator as their offensive coordinator, that's a disaster
yeah,
move.
and you can't replace the guy who was the guy. Like, you're never gonna when they decide, okay, let's jettison or fire or push out Belichick to Hoodie. Here we go. You never want to be the guy to follow that guy because you knew it was going to work out.
Well, but the problem with that is that the guy that they wanted wasn't available yet.
True.
So
True.
Mayo would have been back if the Titans weren't stupid enough to fire Mike Vrabel.
Yeah, and now look at they're struggling. They
Yeah.
and I feel bad for that kid, by the way, Cam Ward. You fired
Cam
your head
Ward.
coach 4 or 5 games into the season. Um, it now Drake May, again, phenomenal quarterback, right? I think
Much better than I thought. I
yeah,
wanted Jaden Daniels.
yeah, I was enamored with Jaden Daniels too, but it's also, again, the rough lessons of the NFL. You're up big against Buffalo. You got to figure out a way to close them out, right? I still think he's a phenomenal quarterback. What do you like? What has impressed you most this season about New England? Like, the whole change of culture and the dynamic.
Well, so I'm a longtime Patriots fan. I'm not Brady come lately. I can probably name more Patriots from the 78 squad with Steve Grogan, Raymond
Okay.
Claiborne, Stanley Morgan, Russ Francis, John Hanna, Steve Nelson, Julius Adams. More than that than I can now. Um, I'm also in part of that with the with Cam Newton. They may be fool's gold because they have had such a cakewalk of a schedule. Okay, outside of the Bills and a banged up Tampa Bay club, that they just haven't played anybody. Now that's not their fault. That's
Right.
but so they're winning those ball games. Struggled with the Ravens because the Ravens decided not to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry for the
Which
last
was
10 minutes of the game, which is
malpractice by Harbaugh.
insanity.
Malpractice.
So who knows what that is. Nonetheless, he has come back, right? This is a team that didn't get it going until they beat the Bills. And right before they beat the Bills, I think they lost to the Steelers.
Yeah.
They lost to the Raiders to open up the season. This
Yep.
team was going nowhere fast. Because they beat the Bills, they got a lot of confidence that, we can do this. And they started beating teams, some rather handily. And then, some they needed, I think they just got past the Saints when the Saints weren't doing anything,
Right. Some
way
games
before
were
they
ugly.
started
Yep.
getting good.
Yep.
So Drake May stays in there forever. I guess Collinsworth pointed out that his head is up now when he's scrambling. There's a difference between scrambling and running. And now I'm going to run to get away, but now he's got it with his head up and making those throws. He made some questionable throws the other day against the Ravens, as Collinsworth pointed out. A couple of those were hanging up there, could have very easily been interceptions. Hopefully Trayvon Henderson is okay. But Drake May has improved tremendously from last year to this year. That's probably coaching. Outside of calling a 3rd and 2 to the running back, Josh McDaniels has done a really good job with him as well. It's going to be very interesting in the playoffs because are they the number 1 seed or are they number 2 seed?
Yeah.
So as a Patriots fan, I want to avoid the Bills and the Broncos for as long as possible. Well, guess what? If they finish the number 2 seed, there's a good chance they don't get the Bills or the Broncos until the AFC Championship game.
Correct.
Because they end up now Houston's not going to be easy either, to be honest with you. But I'll take my chances with CJ Stroud in the snow in January. All right.
Yeah.
So if they beat Houston, then they either get Jacksonville, who beats the Bills, or the Bills win, and that's who plays Denver. All right. And so they either get Jacksonville, the Chargers, or I always forget one team.
Or the
Steelers.
Steelers.
The Steelers.
AFC North winner.
Yeah, it'd be the Steelers and the Chargers, that winner, or Jacksonville would play the Patriots. And, I'll take my chances with the Chargers or Jacksonville, who's played very well lately, in the cold in January as well. So and Jacksonville's got a really good defense.
You don't want to see the Bills. But the funny thing is, if Baltimore is not in and the Steelers win out, even though they're going to deal with the Metcalf suspension, but if they win out, they're in, they win the AFC North, one team coming out. You got no Baltimore, no Kansas City. Indianapolis loses Daniel Jones. They're done. They're cooked, right? So it's right there for Buffalo. Like I look at Buffalo.
It is. And then they struggled last week. I mean, they were fortunate to win that game against the Browns. I'm still not a big Sean McDermott fan. Rich, explain to me how with whatever it was, 3 minutes or so, that I have a chance to make it a 6-point game. And I need to let you know, I'm all for going for it. I love going for it. Touchdowns win football games. But this is going to be a 6-point game. And you're going to give it a chance to where if you miss it, it's now a 3-point game. And he can go down the field and just get it to where my guy Andre Schmidt from Syracuse can come in and kick a game-tying field goal. I mean, he got a little bit lucky.
But that's been his MO. That's what Sean McDermott at times. I mean, they got bailed out to open up the season because Derrick Henry, who ran wild, had 2 bad fumbles.
Right.
But I said coming into this season that McDermott was on the hot seat. And
I think he is.
I'm glad you brought up, like, for instance, Harbaugh. Derrick Henry's going nuts the other day, and you only give him 6 carries in the second half. Like, that's malpractice. It does not make sense.
Yeah, right.
Some of these head coaches, they try to get too cute. Like even Dan Campbell, you said I'm all
smartest man in the room syndrome. You watch Sean Payton do that. That we learned that a lot watching him in the Saints.
I did want to ask you, and I know I got you for a couple more minutes. I did want to ask you about Belichick in North Carolina. Now,
well, been a little bit of a disaster, right?
Well, I think it's a lot disaster. And
yeah,
I didn't think he was going to last a season. I thought they should have pulled off the offer when he technically didn't sign. We know about off the field and all that other kind of stuff.
Well, that's a lot of it. I mean,
It is, but
his
does that
girlfriend seems to
factor?
be heavily involved. That's
I
an
know,
issue.
but does that factor when it's said and done, if he only wins 3 or 4 games next year and he's like, "You know what? I'm d-" Do you believe he will get a job? He will have an
No,
opportunity to get back to the NFL?
no, he'll go to the media, and which he's very good at. He actually he's actually got some personality, which we don't really see when he's coaching football. They took my guy Gio Lopez. Gio Lopez from South Alabama was coming back. He was banged up. Went through spring practice, but then Belichick comes along with a 2-year, $4 million guarantee. Gio Lopez is a 6-foot scrambling lefty quarterback, right? I mean, I don't think he's pro bound. So how can he not take the money? Hopefully he
Yeah,
got the money. And they didn't play well this year.
yeah.
Um, that
Does
was
it
their
tarnish
first
his
drive.
legacy?
Except, you know who they played well against? They played well against my Syracuse because, well, they stink.
Does it
Um,
tarnish his legacy?
um, no, but I guess that's going to answer the debate whether it was more Brady or Belichick, which I don't think is fair because I think a
Right,
lot of it was Belichick,
right.
especially defensively. Such a great game plan against the Rams. And even the 3 Super Bowls that they lost, it took ridiculous performances, whether it was Mario Manningham or David Tyree or Nick Foles, to beat them,
Ri
right?
r
Um,
right.
so I don't think it tarnishes the legacy, not at all.
I
It's a little
I
weird, makes it a little
it's
weird,
very
but it
weird,
doesn't
but I've
tarnish it.
been very adamant saying he wants to get back in the NFL because he wants to break Shula's record. It means so much to him.
Well, I mean, then why aren't I mean, I would think that the Giants are not considering him
No.
mostly because of John Mara's sick.
Situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the a scenario um, for him. I can't envision it. I feel
You don't think
also
the Dolphins would hire him to break Shula's record, would they?
I don't think they're gonna I don't think they're gonna
I don't
fire
think so either.
McDaniel. I think Tua's a different issue.
Yeah, but I think all those quarterbacks you mentioned, there are reasons for that. I'm much more of a reasons guy than an excuses guy. Big Levitard fan, and they are thoroughly convinced that um, Tua is not the Tua that they drafted because of all of the concussions. All right, so
I listen. I agree. 100.
so
Well.
there's that.
He's
What
he
other
also lost a
quarterbacks you
lot of
mentioned?
weapons.
Daniel Jones. We saw him actually play well because, oh my goodness, they had a running game in Jonathan
Correct.
Taylor. My God,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
Jackson Dart. Um, he's got a good team, but they're all banged up, right? No Malik Neighbors,
Yep.
right? And the other
Scatterbrain.
wide receiver got hurt too.
Yep.
So I'm much more of a reasons guy than excuses guy. Um, and so the quarterbacks you mentioned, there are a lot of reasons on why they haven't been successful.
Well, I think coaching too, like Mac Jones, right? Mac Jones had to get humbled. You know this, right? Mac Jones
Well,
with the
Matt, a
Pats.
little bit, yeah, but Matt
A little.
Patricia's his offensive coordinator. What are we doing?
No,
I mean,
agree, but
yeah,
now he comes in and he spells Purdy and he's resurrected his career. Like
yeah,
Baker Mayfield got a raw deal when he got hurt in Cleveland, and he's been able to bounce around
yes,
with
yes.
Carolina and then winning the Rams game on Monday night, reading the playbook on the plane, and now he's carved out a really nice career. Now, Pete Carroll made
Absolutely.
the wrong decision to bring his guy Geno Smith over, but Geno Smith resurrected
That has,
his
yeah, he
career.
resurrected his career. That has not. Who knows why that hasn't worked out? It at all, right? No.
I think
Although
Carroll's done
they
a bad
played a little
job.
bit better as of recently, actually, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they almost beat Houston.
Yeah, I'll tell you this though. I think some of these coaches, they kind of realize they bit off more than they can chew. And kind of where I've been talking the last several weeks with the quarterback position in the NFL. If you don't have a franchise quarterback and at least some pieces around him, you're not going to win. And these guys got to be healthy. And a lot of these quarterbacks I'm bringing up, they're constantly injured. Like Tua is a perfect example.
Right.
You knew he was dealing with injuries. You know he was prone to concussions. And I'll be the first to tell you, Dave, I came on the air and said, what the market bears, you have to pay him.
Oh,
The Giants gave Daniel Jones 160 because he won a road playoff game.
well, that
But
was foolish
now
too.
you get hurt, you're concussed, you're
Yeah.
inconsistent, you can't play in the cold weather, you take away a running game, you lose some weapons. He's reverted. Tua now is like a pedestrian quarterback, and they're screwed with that contract. Like the options that they have to push him out, it's not viable because of the dead cap money, the hit they would take. It's an albatross of a contract.
Well, they're gonna have to pull a Denver and just eat it for a year.
I was thinking
Is
the
what they're
same
gonna have to
thing.
do.
Yeah,
And isn't
Yacht flower.
next year's quarterback class is much stronger than this year's quarterback class,
Yeah, yeah,
allegedly. I guess that depends on what Dante Moore does.
right, right.
Dante Moore makes it much stronger now. But if Dante Moore waits a year, which, no one ever gives a second thought to do that outside of Peyton and Eli Manning. But other than those two guys, and maybe Arch Manning, Arch actually probably needs some work. But now Dante Moore is going to make somewhere between $5 and $10 million next year.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what? I would tell him, this, Rich. I would stay in college for as long as possible.
Especially now with
you
the
know,
NIL, yeah, the
what a great
NIL
life
deal.
being the Oregon quarterback making $8 million.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And you play on Saturday, you can rest on Sunday.
And Phil Knight, and I got Phil Knight in my back pocket. I mean, I
Yeah,
know it's not 25 or 30 or whatever it is now, and obviously the whole contract and the whole idea in the NFL is to get to the second contract. But now it's a little bit more feasible. I can I can live the way I want to if I got that hefty 7-figure deal.
when how many times a week do you do the pod?
I do it at least 5 days a week.
Wow.
We did it a little bit more, starting to do some live shows. We'll see if anybody's up and about Christmas morning. I'm actually traveling back to Louisville Christmas morning, so we'll probably do a live show then. Got to figure out what the episode's going to be. We got a bowl game, right? Southern Miss is actually playing right now, so
Yes,
we'll be
yes.
into that. Then there may be another bowl game the next day, tomorrow. So, but I do it 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, with maybe a bonus thing on Saturday.
And I think Louisville is up on Toledo right now by 27-25.
Oh, yes. My nephew was thrown a conniption at how poorly they were playing to begin the ball game,
Now,
which is usually the way Louisville plays this year, to be honest with you.
I have to ask you about now you're an ambassador for Jim Beam?
Yeah, I work at the distillery. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. About 20 minutes south of Louisville. It's a lot of fun. I talk bourbon all day long. That's why I said Knob Creek 12.
You,
That's my preference.
you talking and sample it?
We used to be able to sample. That's not as prevalent as it was before. Although, because I left and wanted to bring some holiday cheer, I did bring in a bottle that we don't have yet at the distillery. Old Overholt 12 cask strength, which is getting tremendous reviews, 117.4 proof. And yeah, we drank that to begin the day. When did I leave? Saturday. So
Wow.
we drank
Yeah,
that. Yeah. It's always good to have 117 proof at about 8:35 in the morning.
Yeah, I
A little drink, just a
yeah,
little sip.
I'm gonna get a text from one of my sponsors, Three Books Bourbon. But
No, I just want to answer that question. I see it.
yeah. That's the man,
We're
man.
just
Go ahead,
yeah,
fire
we're
away.
just they are not closing the distillery. We are ending production for 26. Okay.
Got you.
So we have plenty of barrels of bourbon that needs bottling, so that's not stopping. And our Boston, Kentucky plant, which is just down the road 20 minutes, can take up the slack that we'll have this year. So
So you gotta
and
be you gotta watch Tulsa King then. You gotta like Tulsa King when Stallone got the distillery.
oh, I need to see that. That's on the Paramount Plus. We can only stream so many channels. Is the other problem. And not quite as scary. We're hoping for some. Honestly, I know the profits are there for the company, but I'm hoping as somebody who buys a bourbon that we see some prices come down. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fantastic. Well, listen, where we are on the East Coast, up and down the East Coast, weather like this, you definitely need a little hot toddy. You need a little.
there you go.
That's what I was saying. I was joking. I was like, I got a distillery that sponsors a show in Jersey, Three Brooks Bourbon. So hopefully
Where
I'm
in
allowed to
Jersey
do
are you,
pod.
Rich?
Yeah, what's that?
Where in Jersey are you?
Right outside AC, a
Oh,
stone's
right
throw.
outside AC.
Yeah,
Okay.
right outside the lovely city of Atlantic City, where corruption does not exist.
So right. I believe it is corruption definition C Atlantic City.
Oh my goodness, are you
But I
kidding
used to I
me?
used to live in Bridgewater. I was the voice of the Somerset Patriots, so we went down there all the time
Really?
for the Atlantic City Surf. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you're North Jersey or New York guy?
Well, it was I'm a Syracuse, New York guy. This is where I am right
Okay.
now. But I
Okay.
lived in Bridgewater. I actually lived right in between Rutgers and Princeton, probably a little closer to Rutgers.
Okay.
Best pizza and meatball sub was Sansone Brothers right on Route 27.
Okay.
And then isn't there a great a sandwich place because they talk about the bread in Atlantic City, and someone said it's still there.
Amoroso's. You got
No,
Amoroso's, and then you got um oh my God, there's two
the
other.
White House
Oh,
something.
you're talking about the White House subs.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's literally right off Atlantic, I believe.
Yeah,
Now, Bridgewater, that's in Somerset County.
Yes. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay. Now, you guys get hit with a lot of snow, though, right?
Up in Syracuse?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. It snowed Monday, and there wasn't any snow when I landed on Sunday when I landed, and then there was snow when I woke up Monday morning. Yeah.
That's brutal. I mean, I was born in Rockland County in West Nyack many moons ago, and I remember the snow. It was just ridiculous. And I did radio in Ohio on a cup of coffee doing radio in Ohio, and I remember it snowed in September, and I was like, "This is not for
Oh,
me."
yeah, I moved 2 decades ago, I picked up and moved, to a friend of mine in North Miami Beach. I figured looking for a job, I could get rejected from the beach just as easily as I could get rejected from the snow. Well, I went from North Miami Beach to Miami Beach, lived in South Beach, and lived in Key Largo. Pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
That's oh, you're making my ears perk. What is that? It's called in the north side at Normandy Isle. Normandy Isle. I think it's in North Beach. It's like 20 minutes from South Beach.
Is that the private club?
No, it's a city. It's like a small it's a little town. It's like a little beach town. I mean, it's not obviously
No.
like in South Beach with off of Collins Avenue
No, see, there's
or
a little
Cornwall.
exclusive, Patino had a place there. I think that's where um I think Jared and his wife, Jared Trump, it's
Oh,
only got
really?
like
Oh,
30 or
it's a
40
cottage.
houses. It's
Oh,
only
well,
30 or 40 houses. It's
then
incredibly,
it's above my pay rate then.
exclusive, and
All
of
right.
course, the one time I was gonna play golf, it rained.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't tell you how shocked I was.
Where can everyone check out the pod? And I'm sure you guys probably do it on YouTube as well to
Yep.
subscribe, anything like that. Go ahead, fire away.
Always Apple and Spotify, big help with the audio, but yes, YouTube, Locked On, Sunbelt, really appreciate it. As you can imagine, Rich, we've just had December's been a record-setting month.
That's
Right? With a
fantastic.
couple of coaching changes,
Yep,
JMU winning the Sun Belt and being in the college football playoff. And now I got a whole thing with the national media not wanting the G5. So I got a lot of people tuning in all of a sudden. So
no,
the podcast has grown by leaps and bounds here
awesome.
over the last just couple weeks.
No, I want all you guys out there too. It's a great pod. I've been tuning in, subscribe to it. Great stuff, Dave. Man, I really appreciate you making some time, join me for a couple moments. We got to do it again, man. I definitely
Let
appreciate
me
it.
know when.
All right.
Generally off home at 6 p.m. Eastern time.
All right. Hey, no, listen, we got the playoffs right around the corner in the NFL, so we're gonna have to tap into that.
Okay. You
All
got it.
right.
My pleasure, Rich.
Appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much,
Thanks.
pal. All
Bye
right,
bye.
there you have it. All right, excellent stuff. Definitely the podcast is amazing. Give it a follow, subscribe as well. I got to hit the bottom of the hour, 5:38. Quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. All right, 5:40. Don't forget, we'll take you up to 6 o'clock straight up. You can download the Odyssey app and check out Coastal Sports Digital Network. Great stuff from Dave. Appreciate him jumping on board. Very interesting. Got some comments too on the Mendoza situation. See, this is what I'm saying. You guys can't always reach. You can't always reach when it comes to the quarterbacking. When we're talking about the draft and just getting enamored with these guys, that's not always the best thing to do. Little Bourbon warms you up quick. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. I want to go back to some of these comments, by the way, because I couldn't fire some of them off. I saw that you guys were, all right, we got Lucky Charms in there. That's a good play. I'm fine with that. Cocoa Puffs will kill the upper palate madman. All right. What is this? The podcast criticizing Q. Deep dive on all his corporate. What are you talking about? Corporate speak that you have to sit through. That's unbelievable. Cocoa Puffs. You can only have one for the rest of your life. Cocoa Pebbles. Cocoa Pebbles. Marshmallow and Lucky Charms is second to none. What do we got here? Oh, here's some more trolling of me. I always appreciate that. Vinny, we got to start Q Fact Check Pod. Middays from 4 to 6. It will be a live rebroadcast of the show to compare what he said on past shows. He asked very nicely earlier, man, that we not broadcast during the 4 to 6 hours. And since it's the holidays, I'm inclined to compromise. Well, I appreciate that. The college talk. Do we expect to continue to dominate the same way they have in the lower levels because they have several championships? I think Indiana's going to smoke Alabama. I really do. Oh, when I wasn't talking bad about your quarterback, right? I can't help that. Michael chimes in. Second team from Oregon would beat JMU in a game. Levels are drastically different from Power 5 game in and out. Yes, that is fair. That's 100%. Currently performing a stakeout on the bunker. I don't know what that's reference to. I can't keep up with all these comments sometimes. You're telling Dave he doesn't want to be associated with the bunker boys. I will find out if he's ever played poker. Pompano Beach. No, that was a good spot. He was really good. Great stuff. And very good take on Drake May, too, and New England. And I'm wondering if Broncos fan was happy to hear that when we talked about the schedule. Because I know you guys were so heavy when it comes to the schedule and the teams or the lack thereof that the Pats played. By the way, tomorrow, Costco on college football, Jonathan Marshall on the NBA as well. And then I believe we'll probably do a little power hour on Thursday, and then back in the saddle, full show on Friday, obviously with the NFL. Let me get to some of these comments. Sarge chimes in, Q. All you're talking about is the quarterbacks, but again, you got to go back to who's developing these guys. Well, but it kind of goes hand in hand, does it not? Jose Clearwater chimes in, Q. Excellent stuff. Speaking of Miami, I think Tua is absolutely done. I'm a little more inclined to say that McDaniel's going to make it through the season. Ross has to learn not to spend big time on quarterbacks. That was a overreach. It was an overreach, and I was wrong. I was 100%. I'll tell you right now, I was 100% wrong on Tua. He played well. And he cashed in. And now it backfired. And to his point, and to what Lebitard said, and I know exactly what he's referring to because I heard Dan mention it a couple times, he's not the same quarterback because of these concussions. So you don't expect him to play the same way. Nick and Walleyford chimes in, Q. There is absolutely no love. Wow. How about this one, guys? Nick from Walleyford chimed in 4 times. And this is his top. This is how he ranks them right now. This is his 5, and you guys tell me. And you're going to be a little disappointed with this one. He's going to go Cocoa Pebbles at number 5. He's going to go, and I can't believe I forgot about these. These are sneaky. Toasted mini wheats at 4. Okay. Frosted mini wheats at 3. And how about this? Golden grams. And then it's a toss up between Lucky Charms. And I can't believe you guys forgot this one. With a honorable mention, Apple Jacks. Honorable mention with the Apple Jacks. Oh, that brings back some memories. I mean, in college, all I lived off of was cereal and Jolt. You remember Jolt? Jolt was the, I guess you can say the goat of energy drinks. Because it wasn't really an energy drink. it was basically syrup. And that would get me through like 12-hour days. Monday Marcus chimes in, Q, Pro Bowl is an absolute joke. Did you see some of these players that were voted in? It's fan voting. Why do you guys care? Nobody cares about the Pro Bowl. They don't. They just don't. G chimes in, Q, I can't believe McCarthy's out again. Is he turning into a bust? Hairline fracture. That's not a good thing. It's not. There was a scenario where we talk about the offseason and the rumor mill in the NFL with some of these quarterbacks. I'm going to throw this out there. Now, I gave you my Sanders backing up Mahomes. But let me throw out one. And I haven't checked the contract. So don't, again, you don't have to Q fact check me. Can you see a scenario where Dak Prescott is the starting quarterback for Minnesota next season? Yeah, Applejacks. You guys forgot Applejacks. You guys forgot. I mean, Nick came through. Nick and Wallingford with the Applejacks. That came out of nowhere. Frosted Mini Wheats, boom. Jolt was created in New Jersey, I believe. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. It was syrup. That's all it was. I used to have that in JUCO. Jolt Cola. Let's see. Jolt Cola is a nostalgic American soft drink famous in the 1980s for its slogan, all the sugar and twice the caffeine. It relaunched in 2025, zero sugar. I wonder if it's the like distant cousin of RC Cola, perhaps, right? You know that the soda that got zero love. You talk about being like the redheaded stepchild. Tab. Nobody respected Tab. Think about it. You go to the barbecue, and you got Sprite, you got Coke, you got Pepsi, and then you got Tab. Tab sitting in the back. And I never had a problem with Tab because I like the color of the can. Now, I don't think Jolt is anywhere in the stores. 547, quick timeout. We'll come back on the other side. I can't believe I got like 30 text messages on cereal. Somebody chimed in and said, is that guy a lunatic who doesn't have cereal in the morning? I'm not even going to give the name, Vince. Quick timeout. All right, 549. Let me rip through some more of these. Another summertime classic was grabbing a killer shake from Wawa. Never ever had a Wawa shake. Nope. 99-cent fruit punch. Yes. Tab was awful. I don't think you're giving a lot of respect to Tab, to be quite honest with you. It Oh, perhaps it did. NFL MVP updated odds. Let me just give you these real quick. So right now, May kind of cut into Stafford's lead, but these are updated right now. Now, this is what they're reporting. I still believe Matthew Stafford's going to win the MVP. Stafford's at minus 220. May is at plus 185. Josh, it's a two-player race. It's a two-player race. Josh Allen at plus 2,500. Trevor Lawrence at plus 3,500. It's right there for Stafford. He's the favorite despite the Rams losing to Seattle. And by the way, you know what really was so crushing about that loss? They lose to Seattle. They drop to fifth place in the NFC. Now, you look at his overall numbers. Listen, it's just unbelievable. This is where the NFL has a problem, though. I feel bad, or as a fan, if I win 11, 12 games and I'm going to be a wild card, that's just not right. That's just not right. The Rams right now can finish as a wild card team. Now, does he have to have a strong 2 weeks? Listen, I think they're going to blow out Atlanta. This is a game, if you want to grab it right now, play the over. It's 49.5. They're laying 7.5. I think they take care of Atlanta. I really do. It'll be a fun game to watch. I think it'll be high scoring, but Stafford's just on another level. Now, the reason that these odds are getting tighter, again, New England comes from behind because Baltimore decides not to run the ball in the second half. May leads them to another come from behind victory. Plus, you get the Rams losing to Seattle on Thursday. So Stafford's numbers dips. May comes and he has to come back behind win, come from behind win, and his numbers go up a little bit. Now, again, you're not going to get to see him on national TV because the Patriots have the Jets and the Dolphins. He had the benefit of being on Sunday Night Football. National audience, here's the window, NBC against the Ravens. And he performed well and they came from behind. That hurts him a little bit these last two games of the season against piss poor teams in the Jets and the Dolphins. The Jets and the Dolphins. And they need Denver to stumble in one of these in these final two games because they're trying to get the top seed in the AFC. But I still think Stafford has won it. I really do. Killer Shake was sold at Wawa, not made by them. Oh, okay. All right. Understand. All right. Thank you. I appreciate the clarity. That's really that's uncalled for. Seriously, how the hell am I supposed to know that? That's like me sitting there saying, "Okay, let me give you some different levels of whey protein," and you think it's at Wawa, and I know that it's at a protein store. That's just not fair. That's honestly not right. Let me see Killer Shake. Let me see what they look like. Killer Shake refers to several things. Ooh, 90s over the top serial killer. And by the way, if you and Vince, that's out of bounds. That's out of bounds right there. Doing something 4 to 6 live on YouTube, that's not right. Dean and Glassboro chimes in. Q, I'm laughing my ass off. Got you locked in on the app. Do me a favor. Why don't you promote it a couple more times, like 100 more times? Laugh out loud. MVP's locked up. Stafford, you know it, and I know it. I only promoted the app, I think, twice. You're supposed to promote, are we not? I thought we were. That's what Angel wanted. I'm just doing with how Huffy wants. We're going to try to get Angel on maybe tomorrow or Friday. We'll squeeze him on for a couple minutes, get his thoughts on his Philadelphia Eagles, who all of a sudden their offense is waking up a little bit. And the last thing you want to do is wake up that sleeping giant in the Philadelphia Eagles. Rams, Seattle, Green Bay's got some issues. You know, the Bears are going to be a sneaky team. The Bears are going to be a tough out come playoff time. I know you guys don't believe me. I believe they're going to be a tough out come playoff time. I love how well Williams is playing right now. I really do. He's playing at a very, very, very high level. And he's got a quarterback that believes in him right now. And that's a good thing, right? See, Kepka actually departs live. 3 years, just 3 years. They got a lot of money, man. They got a substantial amount of money from live. That's the Saudis tour. So he's out. Mm. You need to promote like the guy from The Walking Tall. You need to promote like the guy from, it's not The Walking Tall, it's Walking Tall. See, now you guys want to get on me? If this is Jeopardy, you gotta phrase it in the form of an answer. What is Walking Tall? Not the Walking Tall. He was on Tulsa King too. He was on Tulsa King. Oh, two things, and you guys are not going to be happy with me. So I told you I could not take watching that new Leo DiCaprio movie. It was horrible. I told you how I turned it off in 30 minutes. Well, it was so bad, I had to go all in because that's just who I am. When I commit, I fully commit. I watched the rest of it. It's worse. I'm not a fan of it. Not a fan of it at all. One battle after another, and I love Leonardo DiCaprio. Now, the other show I want to tell you, watch if you haven't, because it's probably some of the best TV on television. Just it's phenomenal. Mayor of Kingstown. It's absolute. If you have not watched The Mayor of Kingstown, I implore you, watch it. Watch it. Watch it. Watch it. Jeremy Renner is fantastic. And the guy that writes everything wrote this too, Tyler Sheridan. This guy writes everything. Is there a show on TV this guy hasn't written about or hasn't written or created? This guy's unbelievable. This guy writes everything. It's crazy. He 1923, 1883, Landman, which I haven't started yet. Tulsa King, Yellowstone. My God, this guy writes everything. He's got a movie coming up too. He's a great screenwriter, unbelievable screenwriter. He's fantastic. But watch Mayor of King. Again, stop. What are you saying? Here we go. I'm giving you a suggestion. Okay. I'm giving you a suggestion of a show. We're not going over there with, again, the Manifest, right? We're not talking about The Callings. We're not doing that. We're not, by the way, the girl in The Callings is on another show. Now I started to watch Homeland. I got to go through that. I'm going to rewatch The Wire. I'm probably going to binge Entourage in January if I ever take a friggin' day off. But I'm giving you content every day, 7 days a week, and you guys are still not satisfied. You're getting on me because of my cereal choice. Oh, by the way, I don't even eat cereal, but I haven't watched Landman. I'm giving you some shows. Q, have you seen any of the Diddy series on Netflix? Buckle up. You know what? I haven't. Is it that good? Is it that good? Diddy Dog? Is it? Do I need to watch that? Diddy? Diddy? Let me see. Who produced that? Was it 50? Right? What's it called? The Reckoning? The Reckoning doc? I'll probably have to watch it. Landman is great. Would that be a show? I have to binge watch Entourage again. I have to. Would that be something you're interested in, Eric? That show was phenomenal. And when that aired, you had to like record it. There was no DVR. It was on HBO Sunday night. If you missed it, you're like, ah. I mean, it was just brutal. I don't remember. Did they used to re-air it during the week? But I remember, man, I would plant my fan 9 o'clock. Here we go. Yeah, Entourage was fantastic, but The Mayor of Kingston is a phenomenal, trust me, it is a phenomenal show. It is, when I say it's beyond worth watching, if you like gritty, dark drama, if you like, the complex, the in-depth character, it's Jeremy Renner is no joke, man. No joke. He's unbelievable. It's a fantastic show. It's just the characters are unbelievable, and they're so sketchy and shady. It's just phenomenal. It's Yeah, I would have to give it 5 out of 5 thumbs up. All right, 6 o'clock. Straight 6 o'clock straight up. Great stuff from Dave Schultz. Check out the Locked On Sunbelt podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. Excellent job with the comments. Woosah Wednesday, Manana. We go 4 to 6. Jonathan Marshall's going to join us. Little NBA. Nick Costco on college football. We'll get into the NFL. We'll start to sneak peek week 17 already. You got the 3 games this weekend for the holidays, Christmas. So we'll dive into that. We'll air some more of the grievances out there as well. Special thanks to my good friends over at Three Brooks Bourbon. Get ready with tea, play it against sports, and of course, fresh roasted coffee, 20% off the show notes. Don't forget to check out the promo BYP20. We're dropping a new episode of Back Your Play that'll air Saturday and Sunday, NY48. Also, just recorded a new episode of Overseas Dimes, had former NBA player and overseas player Ray Weathers on, and unbelievable stuff. 40 minutes. I mean, talking about how the game has changed, the politics of the NBA. His backstory is incredible. His brother was murdered when he was 15 years old, went to Michigan State, played under Tom Izzo. That'll be out tomorrow. And all the pods, you'll get their audio on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts as well. But like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And again, appreciate you guys chiming in, keeping us locked in for a little more than 2 hours on this Tuesday. Enjoy your sports night. Check out the Mayor of Kingston, please, please, please. By the way, tomorrow, as I mentioned, a little more NBA. Got a full slate. Want to start diving into the NBA. I get into it right around this time. I didn't even get into the Draymond Green, Steve Kerr issue. We'll do that tomorrow with Jonathan Marshall, host of Marshall Time Podcast, Costco on college football, and you guys on the NFL, as always, chime in and have a wonderful Sports Tuesday. If you guys are driving around, don't forget to download the AUDACY app and search Coastal Sports Digital Network. Comments are still coming in. I appreciate the engagement. As always, I'm always here for the trolling and the heckling. You guys are fantastic. Enjoy when you guys chime into the show. Have a good Tuesday. We'll be back in the saddle mañana on a Wednesday edition of On Cue. As always, I'm Rich Quinones. Be safe, be sound. Hasta luego, mi dia.